Welcome back to the second episode of the ITA Student Athlete Podcast. I'm here today with Ansh Shah. He attends Case Western Reserve University, where you are currently a junior. And Case Western is one of the top research universities in the country, and it's known for its world-class research. You're majoring in biology and business and a concentration in business management. Oh, wait, and healthcare management. That's correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. You're fluent in 4 languages. That's very
Yeah.
impressive. You've achieved immense success with being a national champion indoors in 2022 and outdoors for 2022 and 23. And you've also been ranked top 10 in the nation for doubles and 29th in singles by the USTA. And this is my favorite part about you, is that you're a state champion singer and perform live events. So if anyone is in the Cleveland, Ohio area, they should check you out for some incredible tunes. Is that correct?
Hit me up. Hit me up. Yep.
Hit you up. Exactly. I'm sure people will. I mean, if you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit more, tell me a little bit more about you, that would be perfect.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Ansh, as Abigail said, and I'm a junior at Case Western and on the men's tennis team, majoring in bio. And as a pre-med student here, just going to talk to everybody about D3 tennis, what life at Case is all about. And yeah, can't wait to get started.
Perfect. I'm actually so excited. I remember watching you guys play last year in the national finals, and I think it's honestly like the best atmosphere I've ever seen for any sort of tennis event. It was absolutely incredible. And I think Division 3 is so interesting because obviously you guys are all very, very smart. And then you're balancing academics with tennis. And I think that's incredible. But I wanted to know why you chose Division 3 and what made you choose Case Western. Is I've got here that you were a very successful junior career, you were highly ranked and a 5-star recruit. So what made you choose Case Western?
Yeah, so I think firstly, in terms of tennis, our recruiting class was just very all over the place because of COVID-19. So the recruiting was kind of berserk during that time, but I knew that I had to focus academically as well as athletically. So I was looking at a couple of D3 schools and also a lot of the Ivy D1s, and really was close to going to a couple of those Ivies, like Penn and Harvard. But uh, after COVID-19, a lot of, official visits got delayed. And it gave me really a chance to look into D3 programs more. And that's when I reached out to Coach Wojtkowski. And the Case Western Reserves team was really filled with a bunch of really academically driven guys, as well as people that, wanted to play their best tennis in their collegiate 4 years. So overall, it just became like a perfect paradise for me in terms of academic and athletic balance. And Case has an 8-year program where it's 4 years of undergraduate and then 4 years of medical school right after your undergraduate. So I was lucky enough to be accepted into that program. So after these 4 years, I'll be matriculating into med school at Case Western as well. So it was really just a great opportunity for me to pursue my academic career and then also have a great time playing tennis with everyone.
Well, that's amazing. I believe I got that down that you were part of like a pre-professional scholars program. Is that correct?
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
that's
which is
exactly it.
something that's incredibly hard to get into, I've heard, and it's a very slim acceptance rate. So, like, well done to you for getting into that. But it kind of sounds like you already knew what you wanted. Were you not looking at going for a professional career afterwards, or were you always looking at going into medicine?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I decided medicine super early. Obviously, right before coming into college, I was pretty intent on medicine. And Um, I'd say that medicine always called out to me. My dad's a physical therapist, so I had that kind of role in my life that was related to medicine. And just, it was a perfect opportunity to pursue something like that. Tennis wise, I knew I wanted to play at the collegiate level and I wanted to push for the professional circuit, but I think this was a perfect balance of, playing for something bigger than yourself and playing for a national championship, as well as focusing on the academic side. So it was a perfect balance for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you mentioned there that you had some Ivy League offers. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
So it was between Ivy League and Case Western. What was it that Case Western could offer you that the Ivy Leagues wouldn't? Because I'm coming from the UK and obviously I hear Ivy League, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible. That's big names. And then I hadn't, before coming out here, I hadn't heard of Case Western. So I'm just really interested as to why Case Western appealed to you more.
Right. I think I was in the same boat as you. Like in the beginning, when you're in high school and you hear Ivy League, you're like, oh my God.
Hmm.
But I think, first of all, Case Western was in the Midwest area. So I'm originally from Chicago. So I think I had known about the school as a whole, and knowing that I wanted to do medicine, I think, as you said, it's a great top research university. We have Cleveland Clinic literally a mile from our campus. And the tennis team also, I talked to a couple of guys before, and they were just great overall. Coach Woskowski was really supportive as well. And I think the team, their culture and the success was starting to show. And I just, at the end of the day, if I wanted to play at the collegiate level, I wanted to compete for a national championship. I think that's something really cool that really not a lot of collegiate athletes can say, that, you're playing your 4 years and you're having a great time and you're also competing for a national championship. So it just gave me a lot of purpose to continue playing tennis, and playing with the group of guys that I absolutely love.
That's amazing. Beautifully said. I'm sure if they hear this, they'll all be blushing, I'm sure.
Oh, I hope so.
That's really, really sweet. But I understand that for Division 3, like scholarships, it works is more, it's just academic, right? They can't offer you athletic.
Right.
Is that so? How did it work in
Right.
recruitment?
So yeah, I mean, recruitment is obviously tough in terms of Division 1 teams usually can offer you more in terms of financial support. And in Division 3, you can only get merit-based aid based on the academic side. I think Case Western does a great job of giving a good amount of merit and aid. So I think that was another big factor when you're deciding between a lot of Division 3 colleges. It can get pretty expensive. So colleges that give aid are definitely, it's definitely a deciding factor, and especially if it's a prestigious university like Case Western is, and then you get some merit on top of that, that's great. So that definitely was a great like benefit to going to Case over some other D3 schools that potentially I could have gone to.
Hmm, interesting. And then, I'm sure when it came to selecting a school and you had your offers, were there any influences from family, friends, or coaches towards Case Western, or was this a decision that you made solely on your own?
I mean, I'd say that overall, my family is super tight, so we go through these decisions together, I would say. So obviously had some lengthy chats with them and decided what the best path, but I think they were super supportive. I think a lot of the reason they were happy that Cleveland is close enough to Chicago where they can come bother me whenever they want. So they were like big for that. It's not like all the way across on the East Coast where they have to take a nice flight over. They can't just surprise me. So that was big. But really, I think they just love the fact that the team was super driven. Everybody's focused on the team. And like continuing a collegiate career is something really exciting. It gives purpose in your daily life in college, I think. Each morning you get up and you're like, okay, like I'm gonna go to practice, I'm gonna get better, still pursuing and trying to perfect your craft. So it's something really exciting. So I think my family had a big impact on me when I decided to go to Case, but overall, I think it was a really good decision, worked out really well. So.
It sounds like it has done. So, in the recruiting process, your family was definitely a huge factor for that. Your coach and then the teammates that you got in touch with, they really helped you along with that and picking Case Western. And it sounds like you're really enjoying it there. I mean, you've achieved immense success, like you said, and it is really cool competing for a national title. I have to admit,
Mhm.
it certainly
Right.
makes it's special, and there's only a small percentage that can actually do that. So that's really really cool, and you've done that, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering. So obviously you're very smart, and you have a pretty intense and good standard program, I'd say.
Mhm.
What does a day in the life or a schedule look like for you? Because I know you're majoring in biology and business management, and you're doing this while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. So I would just love to know, how do you do
Yes.
it? How do you do it?
A
What goes
day in the life of Ansh.
on? Hmm.
It's not as exciting as it may seem, but so we practice in the morning as a team to make sure that, classes don't conflict with a lot of the guys so we can practice all together. So usually, practice between 6:30 and 7 in the morning, and practice will go until between 8:30 and 9. And then we come back, basically get a quick food, and then go to class basically throughout the afternoon. Guys have some outside commitments. Like I usually do some research on a daily basis, and then come back by around 4 or 5 p.m. We have a couple lifts throughout the week, which we attend in the evening. And then, just come back and try to get some downtime because I think that's super important. Like some college life can get very hectic and the days can get repetitive, and you can go through that burnout pretty quick if you don't have some stuff like built in to just relax, in the evening. So usually I try to be pretty focused with everything, get stuff done by around dinner time, and then just try to relax and have some downtime, maybe watch some TV or hang out with friends, and then go to sleep and rinse and repeat.
I mean, that's not a bad life. I mean, the
Yeah,
early start time is pretty, that's tough. I'm going to be honest. I'm not someone
it
that's
is.
a morning person. Do you thrive off of that?
I mean, thrive is a strong word, but I think coming in as a freshman, it was a big like change because you're getting up for school, but getting up for practice, you have to be 100% focused, 100% intense, and sometimes it's tough to do that right when you open your eyes in the morning.
Mm,
So I think it's definitely something that took an adjustment, but really when you take a step back and you look at it, it gives you a chance to be productive in the rest of the entire day. Like sometimes I feel like, if you have practice in the middle of the day, then that can be like a 3 to 4 hour productive chunk that, you could have got some work done, maybe relax a little bit. But if you really work hard in the morning, then it leaves your entire day up to do whatever you want. So I think as I've gotten through the years and the waking up has gotten easier, I think it's definitely something that I appreciate. Maybe not like the fourth or fifth consecutive morning. Like by then I'm like, okay, let's wait.
yeah,
But but really like overall, I think there's pros and cons, but it's nice to be able to see the pros, I think.
wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. So you kind of mentioned there how you like to exercise, kind of get the practices all done in the morning, so then the rest of the day can be spent doing like research and classes. I know
Right.
that it's a very heavy academic load, I'm assuming, because obviously it's one of the
Mhm.
top universities in the country. Do you have any sort of like time management skills and tips for individuals at being able to balance it all out? Because I assume that you'd have to take internships as well and planning for the future. I just want to know like how that balances it all out for you.
I think I would like to say that I have some time management skills, but I think a lot of it comes with just practice with it. But time management wise, I think it's super important to have a time of your day built in where you can relax and really just setting deadlines for yourself. I think that's super important. Like if you can, come up with like a daily task list, like I want to get this, and this done, and just focus really hard on getting it done, and then have some downtime to relax so that you're not pushing yourself too hard, then I think that's perfect. And time management wise, also it heavily depends on the people that you're around, I think. Like our all our teammates are super driven as well. So then it like pushes you to also be on top of everything. So I think it's like the team is pushing you to be better, and then as soon as you get your work done, then the guys are super close. Like you have a little bit of downtime and you get to relax, and it's not as stressful as it seems. But I would say with tennis, knowing that, especially during the spring, as I'm sure you know, like a lot of your weekends are gone. Like we're out here doing an ITA podcast, you could be doing schoolwork, but
Mhm.
like again, like it just takes planning ahead of time. And as long as you can show that maturity early enough and just plan ahead, and communicate well with any deadlines that you have, then I think that's the best way to do it.
Is it something that you struggled with when you first got there? Like managing it all out, or did it come naturally to you?
No, no, I don't think it comes naturally, but I think in my high school time, that's when I really started to figure it out, I think, because here in college, we don't have that 8 to 3 or 8 to 4 typical school day that we would have in high school. And
Mm.
then in high school, it's like 8 to 3 school and then like 4 to 7 practice. And you come home and eat dinner and it's already like 8:30 and you're like, where did the day go?
Yeah.
So I think that routine really helped me just have time management to be able to be like, okay, I only have like 90 minutes to 2 hours to get my work done now. So like I need to lock in and do it. So here the same thing applies. Like I want to be able to lock in and do my work early because I know that the weekends or some weeks will be busier than others. So
Mhm.
it's definitely an acquired skill. Like I don't think anybody comes out and they're just like, I'm great at this. Like I was just like born with time management, but the more you work on it, I think the easier it gets.
No, definitely. I agree with you completely there. But I have to beg to differ here. Some people, it does come naturally for them.
Really?
They're pretty on top of things. I've known a few old teammates that were just so on top of things. I was very, very jealous. But it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job at making sure that you get your downtime in as well. I think that's really important, like you said,
Of
to
course. Yeah.
have that balance, especially with a pretty intense schedule, like you mentioned. With it being such a strong academic school, do you have to compromise in areas such as tennis, or are you able to balance it both out?
Yeah. So I think that's like an interesting question because a lot of schools maybe, if the camaraderie of the group is not that strong, you can fall apart or maybe focus a lot on school, but then not have much time to really devote to tennis. But I think the message and the culture of Case's team, especially in the current years, in the past couple years, has been really good of stressing that, like the biggest two things that we want to excel at are school and tennis. And I think a lot of the guys on the team are super motivated for those two things. And like I said, like when you're driven together, then it makes it easier to make sure that we're still prioritizing the tennis. And again, like when you're competing for a national title, it's something super cool. And I think that drives you too, that, okay, like I'm really pursuing something that's bigger than myself. Like I need to put time into this so that I'm ready for the guys, like when they need me and like we can all do it together. Like that sort of message is like only possible with a good team culture, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. So, have you ever had it where you've had like classes or anything clash, or you've been behind on like some homework or a lab, I assume, and you've had to be like, look, guys, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to miss practice or anything, or have you just it's just not been a problem?
So, in the spring, sometimes, like a lot of the meets that we have are on Fridays.
Mm.
So, like a good amount of Fridays we miss for school. So, it's important, again, like time management wise, like we were talking, to notify your instructors and make sure that you get ahead on that work so that you're not falling behind when you come back from a trip. Because usually, I don't know about you, but when I come back from like a meet or something like that, like I'm totally gassed. Like I just need to like lay down and relax. Like it's tough for me to like do anything productive that day.
Mhm.
But so it's important to prioritize that before. And obviously I think there's situations where you may fall behind in class, but again, it's just important to keep doing as much as you can to stay on track and stay as ahead as possible. I think we have a good understanding on the team that, you know, tennis is extremely important, but I think the only thing that makes is more important than the tennis at this school is the schooling. So um if there is like uh a circumstance where you cannot go to practice or something, then it is possible that you can get ahead on your schoolwork that day. But I think all the guys want to be there at practice because those are maybe the best 2 or 3 hours out of the day before you have to work so hard at things maybe you don't want to work hard at. So maybe it's nice to go to practice and at least work hard at something that you want to work hard at for 2 to 3 hours. So usually no one's trying to miss practice.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's really amazing that you have that culture within the team and you have that within each other to just say, okay, this is like a part of my day that I can, well, I'm going to choose to work hard at. And it's almost like it's in a sense, I assume, like a downtime, like a relaxed time in the sense that they don't have to think about schoolwork and they can just think about playing. And like
Right.
you said, like Case Western is so strong academically. And with it being such a super competitive school to get into and one of the top research schools in the country, like you said, the schooling does come first. And I think that's really interesting because a lot of programs, they say student athlete, student comes first,
Right.
you know, but there's usually a little bit of a switch sometimes. There can be, but you've
Uh-huh.
made it very clear that where you are, like obviously you want to achieve immense success, but like you said, the schooling does come first.
Right.
But that's really, really amazing. That's really interesting to hear about. But I'd love to talk about the tennis program.
Yes, let's
What
do it.
makes Case Western, what makes them different to other programs, do you think? What makes them so special?
That's a difficult one to start off with, but I can tell you a few things actually.
Okay.
Um, uh, Firstly, I think I mean, I know I harped on the culture, but I really think the culture at Case is different than a lot of Division 3 schools. Just knowing that it's academic and athletic. A lot of students kind of forget about the athletic sometimes, or maybe prioritize one really strongly over the other. So I think the culture at Case prioritizing both is definitely something that like sets us apart. And then I think it's this like recurring message that we're always saying to ourselves that we're playing for something like bigger than ourselves. Um, like Case in relation to some of the other historic Division 3 programs is has a smaller history. Like we only have a really like 15, 16 year history,
Mm,
and we are kind of making this ascent. And our a big recurring theme for us is that like we're all kind of like a family, alumni, current members, coaches, parents, everyone's like in this together. So I think doing it for the alumni, doing it for everyone that's on the team now, and just having that message clear in your head when you're on the court, I think that plays a big role because in junior tennis, you went on the court. If you lost, it was on you. If you
mm,
won, okay, like, yay, great job. But like now, if you win, it's like, okay, like we're doing it all together. So I think that culture and that understanding that like this is for something bigger than you. And it's really cool because when it all comes together, like, like it did last spring, it's a really surreal experience because everyone can come together. All the alumni were there. I mean, if you looked in the stands, I know you were there, but maybe you were on the other side.
mm,
But if you looked in the stands, like we had so many alumni, so many parents, like just so much outpouring of support that it makes it really difficult to not love what you're doing because you have so many people that are watching and supporting you from behind. So that's something that I would say I did not expect
mm.
coming into Case because I didn't think that was normal, but like it's a huge positive that I got out of it.
No, like you said, it was absolutely incredible. We were pulling up to practice and you could just hear the stadium bouncing from the
Yeah.
car park, which is about like 100 meters away.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? We went up and like you said, the stands were just full. They were full and like just the
Yeah.
energy that was going around there. It was incredible. And you keep mentioning that like it's almost bigger than just you. This is about us as a
Hmm.
whole. And like you said, that collectiveness of coming together. I think that is, for me anyway, I think that's something that makes college tennis so special. Because I think with
Of
tennis,
course.
you do come from such an isolating environment to then suddenly be playing not just for yourself, but for the others. And like you said, your alumni and the whole culture there and the team. I think that's amazing. And like I said, still the best atmosphere I have ever seen in my life at like a
Oh,
tennis
yes.
that was,
Yes.
I mean, what do you think? That must have been one of the best. was that not the best, or have
I
you?
mean, yeah, I think if I said that like I didn't have some goosebumps during that, I'd be like
Yeah.
lying to myself because I don't think I ever envisioned that, I'd be in a situation where there's like that many people, like the stage is like that big. I mean,
Yeah.
it's super cool. Like it's something like, that not to be cliche, but like it's something that when you're a young kid, like you kind of dream of like being in that sort of situation and like playing for a championship like that.
No, of course. I
So
mean, I have to ask though, were you tight? I'd have been nervous. Were you tight?
I was very tight. I think on the singles court, I can handle it like a little more, where I know that it's just me against the other guy, so
Mm-hmm.
I have time to like build into it. But sometimes in the doubles, it's like, oh my God, like we're
Yeah.
playing with a partner, like it's like the beginning of the match, right? By singles, it's like 3 points have already passed in the match. But the
Mm,
doubles, it's like it's important to give that like first impression, like okay, like
mm,
we're here to play. But
mm,
it's tough in those beginning moments, especially like on that stage. But
mm,
I think for that, our coach and again, like our leadership on the team has just been so great
mm,
that they do a great job of like instilling a calmness in us. I think
mm,
like a lot of times our coach has like an excerpt or a podcast for us to listen to. And sometimes it takes your mind away from like the tennis and
mm,
like it just calms you down before the moment, which is important because sometimes if you thinking about the tennis so much, you can get to a point where you're sucking yourself out.
mm,
So I think the leadership on the team, especially in the last 2 years of being an underclassman, just learning from the guys like above me,
mm,
that experience was just like so good because they do a great job of, just telling us what's at hand, what we have to focus on, and what we can control. So as an upperclassman, I'm trying to instill that in the underclassmen now, but I can like the leadership was just really good in those as it is now, like just really good at making sure that everybody knows like what tasks they have.
mm. That's really important that you've mentioned that, like leadership. I think it is something that definitely takes a toll on the team. And if you have people that can really guide and support and just bring that togetherness and that calmness, like you said, it's incredible. It's so, so important. And you also were talking about your coach there. I'd love to talk about him a lot more. He's
Sure.
I heard that he used to play at Ohio State, is that correct?
He did. He did. Yes. He played
So
at
obviously,
Toledo and Ohio State.
oh, not bad, not a bad resume.
Hmm.
So with that, obviously Ohio State is another very successful program. You mentioned how like makes you guys feel calm. He takes your mind off things with like a podcast. Hopefully this podcast, I hope he's gonna send this around as well.
Hopefully he plays it out to
Yeah, of course.
everyone.
Yeah. Of course, but how do you think he has managed to create a successful program, and what is the training like? Would you say he kind of gets it to be the same as like Ohio State in that way, or runs it in the same intensity as a D1? What is it like working with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone kind of just comes to one of our practices, then and they see like a practice at Ohio State, then they might actually see a lot of similarities in like the ways we train. It's
Hmm.
very like high energy, high competitiveness, high intensity sort of atmosphere. And we're trying to create like a dual match, maybe dual match type of energy on a practice day so that when you get to the dual match, it doesn't really feel like, oh, like this is a complete change from what we normally do. We're always learning from like other sports or other experiences where successful programs have kind of made their mark. And a constant that you can see in all those programs is that they always practice like harder than they would play even in a tournament. So I think just being able to be cognizant of like playing that intensely in practice and knowing that like this is where we win the national championship. It's not in that one dual match on a given day. It's like all the little things that we do
Hmm.
throughout the spring, throughout the fall, even like, like the fall, we don't have any dual matches, but it's still a season of tennis where, guys can either move forward or fall behind. And I think we do a great job of like staying super locked in during the fall. And that's credit to our coach and credit to like the culture that really he's created, him and the leadership like have created over the years that guys are motivated to like do this. So I think like that's a huge thing, like practicing how you play and just the fact that everybody's buying into this together. That's definitely something that he's created over the years.
Do you think he's just created that through time, or is there like a certain part, like certain parts that he's made sure to implement every year? It sounds like he works really closely with like leadership, like upperclassmen, like you said, to create this environment where everyone's pushing each other. Is there like a few special, it could be a secret, I don't know, to your success, but I'd love to know is there like something that he does in particular where it's like, okay, it creates this culture, like you said?
So I guess I can go two routes with that. The first one is I think he makes it super clear that we're only at practice, between like around 2 hours a day. So whatever we do in the rest of our day, he's not really around. So that's really a big portion of the day where you can either like make great choices and keep like excelling at what you're doing, or you could probably like fall behind. So that's where I think the leadership comes in, where um, you need to create a culture where like off court, you still have this message of, like keep doing great, like keep doing great. Don't just be like average outside of practice as well. Because he can push us in practice, but then outside of practice, it's kind of on us to keep that momentum going. So I think that part is him as well as like the leadership on the team, all the guys being together. Something interesting that we do at practice that maybe not a lot of schools do is we usually have this theme at least a couple times a week where we do upperclassmen versus underclassmen. Like throughout an entire practice, it'll just be like competitive games or like competitive drills where it's like upperclassmen versus underclassmen. And then like the loser at the end of the day will have some sort of fitness or something like that to put stakes on the day to kind of mimic a dual match, like have
Mhm.
doubles and singles drills to really mimic it. And I think like that environment, especially when, it gets close or like it gets really stressful, it's an experience that's like really we all look forward to, and it also creates a really intense environment. So it's
Mhm.
something that I really enjoy. I think I didn't really enjoy it as an underclassman because
Yeah.
usually the upperclassmen win, but now as an upperclassman, I mean, I wish I was doing that every day.
I like that. I like that. That, he's making sure that there's that competitive environment still going on and these little fitness stuff that you have to do. Could you name one that was really bad? Go on, name one.
So our practice is actually like on a hill. So there's this run that we kind of know, which is around like a mile and a half,
Mm-hmm.
that is like it has a good like shift and incline as well, like going up a hill, like going down these stairs that are known as the elephant stairs at Case. But that run usually is like a pretty bad punishment to end the day with because you've already practiced a full day and then you have to go and run as hard as you can in that full circuit. So that's a pretty brutal one.
Oh gosh, it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible. It sounds like fun. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Right.
So, with it being such a successful program, like you said, you yourself being a national champion twice and an indoor champion as well, isn't and you meant well, I looked up and I saw that you have a very large team. There's a lot of people on your team. I think right now you have 19 players. Uh,
Yes.
how do you still keep that drive and determination going to like get better every day and be better and want to win again? Do you feel pressure with that? And like, I know you mentioned earlier that with that team, you make sure that there's that competitive edge going every time. But would you say it affected team morale as well? Because obviously, people want to win, even if it's at practice. Like, how do you make sure that like you said, everyone's pushing to be better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for the culture because at the end of the day, we leave the court really as each other's best friends. So it's not really going to affect team morale negatively, but it's great that, on some days, the good thing about this team is that even if we have such a big roster, I think the number maybe towards the end can still beat like a lot of the lineup guys. So on a given day. So the level of the team is like very constant, which is great for practices because it doesn't matter who you're playing against,
Mhm.
that the match is going to be very close, the drills are going to be very close, and everybody's going to get something out of it. So for the non-lineup guys, they're very motivated to keep pushing and crack the lineup, and the lineup guys are just super. like engaged to make sure that they make their mark on the season and their spot and everything. So I
Hmm.
think the team morale, because the group of guys is like very close and they're all pushing each other, I don't think the competitiveness goes in a negative way. It's super positive, in my opinion.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad. I'm glad. I
Yeah,
can't imagine it must be tough. We only have 8 girls right now, so it's tough. It's tough. But
I
19,
know. 19, like we can put out like three squads in a
yeah,
match.
like you're okay. Yeah, that's a big group as well. And with the success you've achieved, do you still have that drive and determination every day to like keep going and the pressure that comes alongside it? Like, how do you deal with it? Or are you just someone who's just pretty chill? No problem with pressure, or how does it work for you?
I like to say that I'm chill, but it maybe internally it's not the same, but hopefully I don't like show it outside.
Hmm.
But I think like with anything, especially I think the pressure might even be greater now that, we won the NCAA last year,
Hmm.
and now like trying to defend our UAA, our conference title and our NCAA, um, that could be associated with, even greater pressure because now you have that expectation of winning, and anything short of winning maybe is not like, like a desirable result anymore.
Mm.
So like making sure though that you're not looking too far ahead is something that we always stress. Like I think tennis, not like any other sport, it's such a long season. Like
Mm.
from the beginning, if you're just focused on the entire end and that's like all you think about every second and every day, then you're gonna get like burnt out. You're gonna stress yourself out of the whole thing. So I think it's important to just take it like day by day,
Mm.
which we do a good job of, like we have a match this weekend. Let's focus on the match. Let's
Mm.
not focus about what's going to happen in 2, 3 weeks, 2, 3 months. Like
Mm.
that will all take care of itself if we just like focus on today. So
Mm.
I think it's important again to harp that into the team on a daily and weekly basis because you're right. Like it's important. It's easy to get carried away. Like
Mm.
after the NCAA championship, it's easy to be like, okay, all I'm thinking about is the NCAA next May now.
Mm.
But you can't really take it that far because then you're going to psych yourself out.
Mm.
So I think the team does a great job of staying like locked in the moment and then just, taking day by day, knowing that our end goal is that, but not really worrying about it at this moment.
Wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. I think it's very easy. I've been having a few chats with the coaches myself at like to not stay present and to constantly question about what you're doing and if you win this, how it will help you here. And you mentioned there that you make it really important within your team to make sure that you stay present, you focus on the task at hand, and you go for it from there. And I think that's something that is so important and something that I'm still learning to deal with myself. And I'm a senior
Right.
playing my last few matches. But it's very easy to get into that mindset of like thinking too far ahead. Like I said, it's a long season,
And like
but
what ifs and all that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
important to treat it like a privilege, really. Like you're
Mm.
having the privilege to do this. So, taking always trying to stay positive in whatever situation you're in and just knowing that like, okay, I'm here. This is a privilege that I'm able to have the pressure really to like defend a national championship, to go out and practice each day. It's a
Mm.
privilege to do all this. So why don't we take it day by day and really get the most out of it?
Exactly that. Exactly that. Thank you for that. That was very, 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 very interesting. So what's next for you then? You're going into your final few years. Is there
Mhm.
a plan put in place? I know you said you're going into med school next, but yeah, tell me what's going on.
As of now, just a junior in the undergraduate school, so kind of just finishing out my undergraduate degree
Mm.
in this year, and then next year I'll be a senior.
Mhm.
So just trying to make the most of the seasons of tennis that are left and just enjoy my time with the guys really in these last couple seasons and try to get the most out of it. And then yeah, like um really med school, even though they say fall of 2025, usually it starts like beginning of July, and
Oh
our
wow.
tennis season usually ends like mid to late May, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be like a huge summer break in between. It's kind of just going to be like finish this, start this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like looking forward to starting med school after and just pursuing a career. But yeah, like really not thinking that far ahead, honestly. Med
Hmm.
school, just like the tennis season, is like a long,
Yeah,
long path.
of course.
So can't psych yourself out there too. It's important, just like
Very
let's
true.
let's be calm and just stay here.
Very true.
So really, yeah, just thinking of, finishing this year out strong, and then
Mhm.
we'll go from there. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to specialize within med school, or are you just still figuring that out?
I think it's tough for me to say like one thing in particular.
Hmm.
I think because of I think tennis has a part to play in this, but I like kind of being in some like pressure situations, having some hand-eye coordination. So for that, I think I want to do something surgery related.
Oh,
I think
cool.
I'd have some sort of a knack for it, hopefully.
Hmm.
Um, but outside of that, maybe like orthopedic surgery.
Mm.
I think that calls out to a lot of athletes just because we've all had injuries and been in those ortho clinics over our lifetime. So orthopedic surgery right now is looking good, but of course it's so early, so I can't really
Mm.
make a decision yet.
Of course, of course. And I'm just wondering, do you have any tips for players who are in the recruiting process and what should players look for?
I think in the junior game, I think it's important to not become like stressed out with all the what ifs, especially in your recruiting years. I think it's important to just stay the course and do the best you can, and most importantly, like enjoy it.
Hmm.
Because I think a lot of juniors, and I might have went through a similar situation where I came into tennis. Both my parents are like from India, don't really didn't really know that there was a collegiate like pathway into school like for sports. Um, so I started tennis just playing as a hobby, and then like even traveling to these tournaments, just playing for fun, like trying to get the most out of it, learn some like valuable lessons through it, but not really to go to college. And then when I realized, like recruiting is coming up, then I start to get like a little bit in my own head. So I would say like it's easy for that to happen for juniors, but I would just say like enjoy it as much as you can, because again, like you're doing this to get valuable experience out of it. And at the end of the day, like just the more you enjoy it, the less stress you'll take on it, and the more you'll just be able to get more out of the game. And at the end of the day, we're all playing tennis, to get the most out of it, to enjoy being part of the game and being with people that we enjoy. So like
Hmm.
that's what I would say. Just enjoy it and do the best you can, work hard, work diligently, but play fun.
Wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. I completely agree with you. I think I know a lot of juniors that like super stressed out about the process and like that it's a massive deal. And obviously it is a huge deal and it's something that, should be taken seriously. But at the end of the day, it is all fun and we're doing it to get better. And I mean, why are we playing if it's not fun? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Yes.
that's what I'm saying as well. Okay, I have some quick fire questions though. Okay, are you ready?
Go.
So the
Yes.
fifth one is actually from Amelia, who I had on the last pod, and she
Okay.
would love to know what was your weirdest or most interesting elective that you took in school?
Weirdest or most interesting elective. Okay.
Quickly, come. No, I'm
Oh,
just
sorry.
no, I'm just kidding.
So I'm doing like a Spanish minor. So some of those classes, like I know nothing about like Hispanic literature.
Oh,
So like those classes, I've actually gotten a lot out of it, but some would say it's like very weird, like the things that we're reading, like it's
mhm.
very deep and like poetry and everything. So I think like that's like a weird elective that a lot of people may not take ever, but I actually got a lot out of it. So I would say like a Spanish like literature class.
Okay, okay, Spanish literature. And what's your favorite song right now?
My favorite song?
Mm.
Oh God. I would have to say, let's go mainstream. Let's go Better Now by Post Malone.
That is boring because I know that you just said you really enjoy a Bollywood sort of tune.
Okay, I mean, I didn't know we were going Bollywood. If we're
Go
going
ahead.
Bollywood, I
Hmm.
really recommend for all the listeners to this podcast, go out and listen to the song "But the Me's Dill"
Mm.
by, and I'll if you really want our recommendations, just hit me up on Instagram. I'll give you all the works of all the Bollywood songs. But "But the Me's Dill" is a great song, so please listen to it.
Okay, check it out, people. And if there's something you could change about college tennis, what would it be?
I would change the no ad and go back to the ad.
Oh, really? That's
Yes.
an interesting one. Can you give me
Yeah.
some reasoning as to why, please?
I mean, I feel like all the matches that I grew up watching when I was younger, like all the epics, like all that drama was created through all those like long deuce games that created so much momentum for like someone to pull away, and like, it got like super intense through that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like having like deuce games present, like it really creates like a different atmosphere in my opinion. And Noad is like more explosive, like
Mm-hmm.
like big shots on big points and stuff like that. But I love like when I see like people grind opponents down over like long deuce games, like there's something special in that. I don't know. Just a hot take, I guess.
Okay, okay. And what have been your top three moments within college tennis?
Number one was winning the NCAA with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I guess tied for two would be like the indoor championships that we won as well, especially the first one, because that was the first national championship that we ever won.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the third one, I would say, hmm, let me think. I would say being able to have a successful run in like the my freshman fall as well, like making the finals of regionals and getting to experience like ITA fall nationals as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
that like really set a good pathway for me to like continue my collegiate career. So I'll go for that for number three.
Nice. And then what is your favorite part about Case Western?
The guys on the team.
Oh, what? Wow, what a response. That was a good one. That was
Yeah.
actually really sweet. Okay, so your final thing that I need from you is a
Okay.
question that you would like to ask for the next guest on the podcast. It could be anyone, well, not anyone, it could be anything you want.
Okay. I would say, what is your pre-match meal that like you always have before a match?
Okay, what's yours? Do
So,
you have one?
we actually get, I don't know if you guys get Jersey Mike subs a lot, but
Ah,
we get Jersey Mike subs before literally every single match. So that's our pre-match routine. I'm like vegetarian, so
uh,
sometimes it gets a little repetitive for me because
mhm.
there's only one vegetarian sandwich there. So
Yeah.
I've become like that veggie sandwich is probably best friend. But like Jersey Mike subs is definitely like the pre-match meal.
Perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you so much again for appearing on this podcast with me. You were amazing. The answers you provided were incredible, and I've learned so much about Case Western, about you, and about Division 3. I think it is something that I did not know a lot about before I came to America. And then
Mhm.
I found out just how tough it is academically and just how high the standard is there. It was absolutely incredible to see when I saw you guys play and then also finding out about the academics. I think you guys did an amazing job. And I wish you all the best with your final, like you said, the business part of the season. And yeah, thank you so much again for being a part of this with me.
Thank you so much, and good luck in your senior year. Finish strong, and hopefully you guys can get the national title, and hopefully we can get the national title, and it'll be great for the ITA Student Athlete podcast.
That's right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Thank you again, though, Ansh. That was perfect.
All right, thank you, Abigail.